The grid element displays multiple panel elements within a grid. Just like a panel, each grid item has 3 text fields: title, meta, and content, an image field with an alternative icon field, as well as the link with its text field. There is also a text field that is used to filter items, so you can enter a comma-separated list of tags for each item. Now let's take a look at the element settings. The grid element has options to set the number of columns for each breakpoint. For example, I would like the grid to have 2 columns on the phone portrait mode. But on the phone landscape mode and higher, it should have 3 columns. You can also set the size of the column gap as well as the row gap between grid items. Alternatively, instead of setting the number of columns for each breakpoint, you can expand the columns to the width of their items, filling the rows accordingly. Optionally, you can show a divider between grid columns. To align the images without any gaps when using a blank panel, use a panel padding, for example, let's set it to default, and set the grid column and row gaps to none. Sometimes the last row does not have enough columns. That's why there is an option to center the columns horizontally. If grid items have different heights, they can be centered vertically. The grid element has an option to enable a masonry layout to create a gap-free layout if the grid items have different heights. So here, the second row jumps up to fill the remaining space. You can enable the parallax effect to move single grid columns at different speeds while scrolling. To filter the grid items by tags that you filled out in the Content tab, enable the filter navigation. Additionally, define the animation that will be applied to the content items when filtering between them. For example, in my case, I have selected a slide animation. You can also set the style for the filter navigation, in my case it's the subnav, as well as position it in regards to the content, so the navigation can be positioned at the top, on the left, or on the right. There is an option to open the grid item links in a Lightbox Gallery. This could be an image, video, or YouTube or Vimeo link. Any other link will be opened in an iframe. Of course, you can set the width and height for the Lightbox Gallery as well. Additionally, you can show the title and content in the Lightbox caption. Of course, the grid element has much more other settings. But since the grid element displays multiple panels, their settings are explained in the panel element documentation. And options for the different content fields are very similar across all elements. They are described in the corresponding headline, text, image, icon, and button elements.